right, so you just finished doing the activity, and now we're going to look at network naming. So networking is sharing information. So humans typically communicate using two basic methods, speaking and writing. Network have their own communications, rules for finding devices on the network, rules for making connections, and rules for each type of information being shared. So Harry wants to send a message to Sally, but they are not on the only users on the same cable, so it has to go through all that. Okay. Finding devices in a network are MAC address. So rule number 1, your device must be unique. So every device that can connect to the internet has a unique identifier called a MAC address. Okay? Each MAC address is put onto what is called a network interface card, or a NIC. Okay? And it is assigned by the manufacturer, and for all intents and purposes, we can't change it. Okay? So a MAC address stands for Media Access Control Address. It's just like your social security number. You're the only one in the world that has that same number. Okay? So MAC address is represented as a hexadecimal. So it's 12 digits. So as you can see, it looks like the 00:24:, or 00 dash. So you can have it with a dash or colon. Okay? So you must belong to a network. So once you bring a phone or any internet-enabled device on a network, it gets an IP address. And an IP address is like an ID card. It can change. So like at home, I have a different IP address than I do at school. It's a temporary identifier for each interface, and it's unique. So if two people have it, then no people get on the internet. If two people have the same one on the network. Okay? And then there's two different types of IP addresses. IPv4, which we have ran out of. We don't have any more of those addresses, and that's the example that you see there, the 192. And then you have IPv6, which is newer but not yet widely used. But in the IPv4, it's known as dotted decimal notation. So you would say 192.168.55.32. That's how you would read that. Okay, and then here's how they find devices. It's using an ARP table. ARP stands for Address Resolution Protocol. It's a tool used by devices on the same network to find the MAC addresses associated with an IP address. One device broadcasts an ARP request to all the devices on the network. It's like yelling to see if you can find someone. So let's look how ARP works. So Bob is sending a message. Hey, who is 10.0.0.1. And so out of all those computers, Sally's going to come up and say, hey, I am. And then she replies with her MAC address, that A1:FF:. And then Bob's like, oh, I'll put that in my ARP table, 10.0.0.1. And then he will put in, so that's the internet address that she has temporarily, and then her physical address. Okay, that's it. So you guys have another lab, ARP with Wireshark. I'm going to give a demonstration of how to use ARP, or how to use Wireshark, and that will be next. Okay, I have my Kali Linux machine open right here. Then I have a terminal on my computer here. So what I'm going to do is, I'm first going to come over here. I'm going to come down and I'm going to go to applications, Applications, and then I'm going to type in Wireshark. The instructions for your lab are going to be a little different, so I'm just going over the basics of Wireshark. So, okay, so right here you see this little bit of information here. This is my local Ethernet. So ETH0 is my Ethernet address. So here I can look at different things. So I have Ethernet, a loopback, so it just talks to itself, Bluetooth monitor. I have all these different things. And what Wireshark does, it's a network analyzer. It will see incoming packets. So if I even click on this, what it's going to do is it's going to look. So it tells you right here it's a live capture in progress. And it's going to be looking for information on the network. Well, right now, there's no network information happening on my Kali Linux machine. So if I come over here, I don't know the IP address of my Kali Linux machine. So I'm going to go say if config. Okay, and here is my IP address right here for this machine. So over here, I'm going to say ping 10.211.55.3. Now, I'm telling my laptop, so my Mac, to talk to my Kali Linux machine. So as I press enter, it's going to be sending messages. If you notice, as soon as I started doing that, it's starting to flood in here now. It's just flooding with information. So you can see I'm sending information to it, and it's saying, it's replying. So I'm going to stop this. So if you look now, so it tells me the source, so it tells me where it's coming from. Let me stop it over here. So right here, it tells me, hey, IMCP, so what type? It tells me the time, the source, the destination, so where it came from, where it's going to, and it tells me it sent a ping request, an echo. So here it's telling me, it's saying, hey, who has this 10.211.55.2 until this. Then here it's saying, well, I do, reply with this. So then it tells me up here that it got a reply. That's what all these are, saying that I got a reply. So if I ping, say, google.com, I'm talking to Google now. And I might have a packet drop or two, and that's fine. Okay? But I'm just making sure the connection is there. So that's all that we're doing here. Now, I can do the same thing through this over here. So let me go back to my terminal, and let me go here. And so if I say if config, I got to go through all this information here to figure out what my Ethernet, what my IP address is. Do 192.168.1.0. So if I go here and I say ping 192.168.1.102, and if I start a capture, continue without saving. So now I'm talking from the Kali Linux machine back to my Mac. Now my Mac doesn't know anything's happening. I don't know that something's trying to talk to it. But this is telling me something's going on. So all this is happening is saying, hey, I want to ping this. So here's my source, where it's coming from, where it wants to go. Then it's saying, hey, this is where I'm at. I want to go back here. And then it keeps just like a conversation happening back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. Now, let me pull this over and let me make this a little bit bigger. Let me make this a little bit bigger so I can show more information on the screen. So right here I have some hexadecimal numbers and information being what was transmitted. If you look here, I have the different frames. So it tells me 98 bytes on it, what happened, so I can look very in depth at all of this. So if I was doing this as a real-world attack, in a sense, I would be able to monitor any information being shared over Wi-Fi, and then I would be able to have another program that would take this information and to be able to decode it in a sense and make it more readable for humans, and then we would be able to see what somebody transmitted. So people have done this where they sit in a Starbucks or a Best or a B-Dubs or something to where they're just watching for any traffic happening and they can look at it. So this is, even though it's a Wi-Fi analyzer tool, and there's a lot of legit purposes for it, and there's also nefarious purposes for it. And this is also called a packet sniffer. So we're sniffing some packets. So that is just a little bit about how to use Wireshark. And so if you, like I said, if you click on something, everything's going to change depending on what you're doing. So that's it.